to this moment.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Analytically Correct. We're back after load management for Thanksgiving. Hope you guys all had a good Thanksgiving.
I love it.
Back after Thanksgiving, we got a lot to say. Here with Stretch, he's a Knicks fan. Me, Marty, I said Wilt Chamberlain. I asked if he could still dunk. And then here with Rob, who said that the Yankees were going to win the World Series. So you don't even need to watch the playoffs or the season anymore. So that's who we're talking to today.
I got blinded by all the lights randomly going in Houston. So.
And the Patriots took 2 planes to their game. We took 3 cars to get here, so beat that, fuckers. We're going to start off today with Jason Garrett. I don't think it was the biggest story from the weekend. There's a couple of NFL games that I do want to talk about from last week that I think had some impact, whether the results did or not. But the Jason Garrett thing, going back now to Thanksgiving, I just find myself, and I'll kick it over to you, but I just find myself watching the game, and I know they're only 6.5-point favorites against the Bills, even though the Bills had a better record and everything like that. But how do you, we always go to coaches when we say, how does a team have all this talent? You have a really good quarterback who, if it wasn't for Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson, could be an MVP conversation. Their record's just not good enough.
Kirk Cousins, too.
Yeah, you have a running back who's like the richest running back in the NFL now. You have a receiver who you traded a number 1 pick for, Michael Gallup, who's better than a lot of number 2s in the league. The only position that you can really upgrade on the offense would be tight end, and you have a really smart one in Jason Witten, but if not for the athleticism. So why is Jason Garrett still coaching the Cowboys? Do you think they're just waiting till the end of the season, or does he have like a Jerry Jones sex tape?
I think it's the thing with Jason.
Not with Jerry Jones. Maybe like he just has one of Jerry Jones with a Russian hooker or something.
No, he's already got caught with pictures with like a girl like on her knees with him, and nothing happened to him. So he's past that. Jerry's fine.
Jerry Jones?
Yeah, he does. Like that happened like 3 years ago.
Okay,
but
yeah,
his pants weren't down or anything, but it was there.
Close enough.
But no, with Jason, I just think it's the only reason why he's still in it is because we're 6-6. The Philly losing to Miami literally keeps him in it still. It's like if we lose week 16, he won't be the head coach week 17.
Right now, the Cowboys are in line to host a home playoff game, and the 49ers are going to be a wild card team.
Yeah, but I hear people.
I'm not saying to change the system. It's just how it is right now.
But that's why it's stupid to change the system because that means winning your division means nothing. Like you should. It should mean because Stretch the Giants fan.
Yeah,
they won a Super Bowl at 9-7.
I'm not saying to change the system. I'm just laughing at the fact that right now I was looking at the standings before we came on, and 6-6 is the 4 seed, and 10-2 is like the 5 seed. So I'm not saying maybe don't let the division winners in. Maybe you could just reseed it. Like they're talking about, and I listened to a whole podcast about the new NBA schedule changes, and I kind of found it a little bit interesting. I think people would find it boring, so we don't really need to get into that whole thing until maybe if they do make the changes. I think it's not really that fun to talk about like schedule changes and stuff. But at least for the NFL, you could maybe reseed it, and I don't want to even do it for the NFL necessarily, but if you just made division winners you get in, but maybe then you reseed it based on record. I don't know.
I just think winning your division is important, and it's always been important. Like that's always kind of the case. But in Seattle, the whole hold my dick thing with Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, that was awesome.
They were like 7-9, 8-8, and they beat New Orleans, who New Orleans was a big favorite in the NFC that year. And they went on, and then they didn't win anything that year, but the next year they ended up winning the Super Bowl. Like winning your division is very important.
Right.
It's like kind of the whole thing. Like if you don't win your conference in college football, you shouldn't be in the college football playoff. That's just like that's an argument to say. Unless you're in the SEC this year and you somehow fit in, I think it's gonna be impossible for really 2 SEC teams to really get in it this year. It's gonna be tough. But I think if you win your division in the NFL, yes, you should be able to host a playoff game. I know people are hating the fact that, hey, well, they're doing this, they're doing this, they're not as good as this team, they're not as good as that team. Well, I'm sorry that the Minnesota couldn't win the division or that San Fran couldn't win the division or Seattle.
I'm not saying that if you win your division, you're not in the playoffs. I'm just saying maybe instead of being the 4 seed at 6-6, you can be the 6 seed.
I just think if you win your division, that's kind of the importance on it. You should be able to host.
And the only reason I don't agree with changing divisions is because in like the NBA, it's cyclical. Not every year the NFC East is not going to be this bad. So people always want to freak out when like a Seattle makes it in at 7-9.
Yeah.
People want to freak out, but then like you have cool upsets and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, and
the NFL is, if any sport, the NFL is one of the sports where the best team does not always win the Super Bowl.
No, it does not. I mean, you look at that.
We both know,
Patriots
Stretch
team.
as a Giants fan, those teams were not the best team that year.
No, they were hot. They came in hot. They came in hot and healthy, man.
I mean, the 16-0 Patriots or whatever it was were one of the best teams of all time, and just because some guy like who was not even in the league next year had a ball stuff.
He supposedly got possessed. Like they had a whole 30 for E60 on him, where he was supposedly possessed. It was crazy. David Tyree.
I'll be sure not to watch that.
Yeah, watch. It's actually, it's not hysterical. It's like, what the hell, dude?
Yeah.
It's like out of nowhere.
But so just in the whole Jason Garrett thing, I mean, you just think they're gonna let him play out this season?
Yeah,
my
that's
whole
just the thing to do at this point.
And what I was telling you is, I'm not even a Cowboys fan. I just get annoyed or like angry, or I don't even know what the word is. But when you have a team that has so much talent, I don't think you can afford to just waste seasons of Dak Prescott's prime on a rookie contract, especially when you're throwing money around like they are. You can't just waste it by playing the string out with a guy like Jason Garrett when there's what would the record be if Kyle Shanahan was like the head coach for the Cowboys? What would the record?
But here's what I will say, because I'm glad you brought that up, because there's only been 3 candidates probably in the last 10 years that have been worth talking about. One, Sean McVay, which I hate to say it, not a lot of people saw coming right away. Then you have Kyle Shanahan, which you did see coming.
Right.
And then you have Doug Peterson.
Right.
Now, my big thing with Doug Peterson and McVay, when they got that job, Dallas went 13-3 the year before. When Kyle Shanahan got the job in 2006 and 2015-16, Tony Romo had gotten hurt. So there has not been a lot of candidates that really outgo Jason Garrett. Like Tomlin didn't leave Pittsburgh. Sean Payton never left New Orleans.
But there's lots of guys. There's lots, and that's the whole thing. We don't need to get into this at all. But the whole thing with Harbaugh, and when people ask if I want him to be fired, and the whole thing is like, well, who are you going to get that's better?
Yes.
But I think in the NFL, it's different than college, because you can take a chance on a guy, and like you said, we were talking earlier about who's going to get fired. Where's Ron Rivera going to go? Will he take over for Anthony Lynn? And you were saying that coaches do get fired more after 1 year now. There's no guy that should have been fired more times in the league right now than Jason Garrett. Like, even just for the fact of guys don't seem to like they say the locker room gets stale.
Yes.
Look at what happens with Marvin Lewis, and not that he had like crazy success or anything, but they were never like how they are this year with him. Look what happened with Lovie Smith. Look what happened with Tony Dungy. Like all these guys who, well, I guess there was actually. I didn't even do that on purpose, but what you said, there was actually a common theme between all those.
Yeah, it's like I said.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're black, you have a great chance of getting fired after your first year. Steve Wilkes, another one in Arizona.
If Jason Garrett was black, he would be at some high school by now,
but
I guess.
My thing with Jason, I've wanted Jason out since 2013.
I didn't even do that on purpose. I guess you were actually.
I didn't say that to be like rude or anything.
I just named the first 3 guys that came to my head.
I'm just being kind of factual there. Like, sorry if you get mad at what I said, get over it. But it's when you look at Garrett, though, it's like. When we look at like you said, we look at the candidates, it's harder in the NFL to find a solid candidate, I think, just because of the fact that you're looking at so many different realms of things. Like, okay, we're going to look at, like, Matt Nagy 1 year looks amazing. Now look at him this year.
Right.
Anthony Lynn looks good 1 year. Now look at him this year. You look at, you look at Fangio. Everyone thought he was supposed to take over and look good. Looks horrendous right now. It's the NFL. You don't have Andy Reid's and Tomlin's and Payton's and Belichick's just coming out of nowhere and saying they'll leave their job. So then you look at those new guys. Like I said, McVay, he was kind of out of nowhere. A lot of people look at McVay and they think, everyone thinks they can just call McVay right away now. But you look at McVay's team now, this offense is stale as all hell. You look at Kyle Shanahan, there took some years for Kyle Shanahan's team to get going where it needed to get going. If you really want to be honest, that offense is the weaker side of that team, and he's an offensive guru. That defense is what's keeping San Francisco consistently going. I think Greg Roman is a name that's going to be floating all around this offseason, the offensive coordinator in Baltimore coming up. But I think the only coach they can really look at, Doug Peterson, he came out of high school. And he played for Philly for a couple of years. So it's like there really haven't been these guys. We went after Sean Payton for years. But every time Sean Payton signed an extension, we kept with Garrett. But also it's because Garrett has 4 seasons with 10-plus wins. So I'm not a Garrett guy. But my thing on Garrett is guys like Tony Romo, I will bring this to him for a moment, but guys like Tony will always kind of get more respect as the years go on. When you look at God, man, he really made Linehan, he really made Garrett look like they knew what they were doing when he went 12-4, 13-3, 11-5. They looked a lot better. When you look at guys this year, I was kind of big on firing him only because I'm not big on in-season fires. Like what Carolina did, there's no reason for it.
Because it's not like a coach is going to be able to turn around a season. Just like my thing is just more to get the jump on the coaching search for next season, so you can get the guy who's going to get fired.
I didn't mind Dallas doing it right now though, because Rashard was interviewed by 3 NFL teams to be a head coach.
Right.
And so when you have a guy like that, okay, let's see what Rashard could bring us if he got moved to interim head coach, and let's see how we look under him, because you just hear it in the locker room after the loss to New England and then after the loss to Buffalo, these guys really don't want to play for Garrett. And there's not a lot of guys speaking. Jason Wynn spoke out against it. Ezekiel Elliott spoke out against it. You had you just have too many guys not really backing Garrett the way other teams will back their head coach. And I think it's I said in our podcast when we first started the NFL season that Jerry Jones' tone with Jason Garrett, why he didn't get an extension, and where he was at, is we have to make the next step. The next step isn't winning a playoff game or going to the NFC Championship. It's going to a Super Bowl, and that's what, I mean, hate to say it, you look at the roster on paper, you put this roster on paper, I can think of a lot of coaches that would be better than 6-6 right now.
I think a lot of coaches could have the best record in the NFL right now.
Easily.
It's not Dak's fault. It's not the offense's. I mean, it's not the players' fault. When Jerry Jones says, like, oh, the players have to step up, it's like,
he's got to say that. I mean, you got to let your head coach feel some type of like.
And if you're not going to fire him mid-season, the only thing I can say about this is, if the Cowboys do make the playoffs, which, I mean, that division is just god awful.
Yeah,
I mean, you're going to have one of the, I think the Sunday night game is like Eagles Giants or something like that.
I hope the Giants win that game.
I mean, they stayed decently close with the Packers until they weren't, but until they weren't. But getting into that whole thing, if the Cowboys do make the playoffs, like I said, they're going to be hosting a game. It might be the 4-6 matchup, but who's going to be the 6th seed right now?
It looks like it could be Seattle or San Francisco. Could maybe be Minnesota.
Seattle or San Francisco will be the 5 seed because they'll be the first one that's out. Who's the other one that you said?
Minnesota or Green Bay in between that one could.
I was going to say at first you would be nervous to play the Cowboys, but if you're any of those teams, I would rather, especially like teams playing in a dome.
Any team that's over 500, you shouldn't be too nervous playing Dallas because they're 0-5 against teams playing 500.
Yeah, I think
the best team we've truly beaten is Philly, and Philly's not a good team.
We just saw them lose to the Dolphins.
Yeah, like even when Dallas played Philly, they dominated. My thing with Dallas is, and I will say this, one thing I will say, we want to blame Garrett, and I'm big on blaming Garrett. Dak Prescott's got to look better. Like, I'm tired of hearing this Dak Prescott hype because I hate to say it, garbage time yards don't impress me. Garbage time touchdowns don't impress me.
Yeah, but he's been good this season, I feel like.
He's been good against bad teams. But he didn't look.
But they've only played bad teams.
I mean, they played Minnesota. He didn't look amazing. He looked bad against New Orleans. He didn't look great against Buffalo. He didn't look great against New England.
I would not at all blame him as far as like the way the season's gone.
When you're looking at this, he's not making the next step though. He's making the next step statistically, but you can pad stats.
You can also say Amari Cooper hasn't been healthy all
Amari
season.
Cooper's not worth the money right now. Like, he's not worth talking about even returning to the roster on a contract.
I don't know about that at all. I love Amari Cooper. I would definitely have him as my number one receiver.
Okay, but when you say that, Kenny Galladay is your number one receiver.
I'd rather have Amari Cooper.
I would do a swap in a heartbeat. Kenny Galladay can play on the road.
I would rather have Amari Cooper.
Kenny Galladay.
Considering if they're both healthy, I would rather have Amari Cooper.
But here's my thing with Amari that we're going to talk about here. Like, we're going to talk about he wants to be paid top money, right?
Yeah.
5 receivers off the top of the head. Odell Beckham, Michael Thomas.
But Odell Beckham, you're going off what he's done in the past.
I'm going off just complete resume. And we want to go off the pass or resume. What do you want to go off
Who's been better this last 2 years, Odell Beckham or
Odell Beckham.
No, because he was hurt the last year in New York, and then
I would still take. Okay, so we can take Odell. So
and then
Michael
this year he's not even been as good as Jarvis Landry.
We can go Michael Thomas. We can go Hopkins. We can go Julio Jones. So they're your 3. I'll take Adam Thielen over him.
No, I would not take Adam Thielen
crazy,
over Amari
man.
Cooper.
Over his resume, Adam Thielen's resume when healthy is a lot better than Amari Cooper. He just is.
But neither of them. The only thing I would agree with you on is he's not really healthy enough to want to give him the money. I mean, I personally wouldn't give a receiver. I don't think he's good enough to get. We're arguing 2 different things. I think he's really good. I wouldn't pay him like a top 5 wide receiver, but just because you're not a top 5 wide receiver doesn't mean you're good enough to be a number 1 receiver.
But that's his camp is fighting for that top contract. You don't go into camp
if it's anywhere near Michael Thomas or Julio money or DeAndre Hopkins, like that's too much.
Yeah, but that's what it's. You think this guy's going to come in and say, I want under elite money? People don't do that anymore. It's the next guy. Whenever the next guy's up, he wants to get paid X amount. Mike Evans is better than him.
Mike Evans is, I think, top 5.
I think he is too. But that's my thing. It's like, when you look at also,
and weirdly enough, I don't think Jameis hurts him. I think Jameis kind of helps Mike Evans. I think if you put like
throws it up.
If you put I mean that's what you need. If you put like a Tannehill with Mike Evans, I think he would be worse.
Even though I think
Tannehill at this point is a better quarterback than Jameis, but I think Jameis is better for Mike Evans' career.
Keenan Allen. I would look at Keenan Allen over Amari Cooper right now. My thing with Amari is this. He's got a lot of Dez Bryant vibes to him. When he plays against top corners, he doesn't show up.
He's also 24, though. I mean, he's going to get better, you'd think.
I would hope so.
Right.
Like, I do hope so. But at the same time, man, it's like you can't become. I understand Gilmore's a very good corner, but if you want to prove you're an elite receiver,
Yeah, you can't get shut down for
Yes.
zero. Yeah,
Like,
I agree with
Hopkins
that.
didn't
But
get
he
shut
also
down like
wasn't.
that.
He wasn't healthy though. I mean,
I understand the healthy, but if you're out there playing, you still got to be out there playing. Like,
Fair enough.
We needed a big catch, when that big catch, he didn't make the big catch.
yeah.
Sorry, but
And
like,
I'll look it up real quick. But when we're talking about the top receivers, and you
and look
say
at his road splits. His road splits are awful.
and
too.
Amari Cooper got held, what was it, 0 catches?
0 catches, 0 yards. Yeah,
So
it was bad.
I'm just gonna look it up real quick for a second of what DeAndre Hopkins had. I don't know what he had against the Patriots, but I don't think it was 0 catches. I'm pretty sure.
No, he had like four or 5 catches. Yeah, and then my big theme with Amari is when you look at his road splits, you can't pay a guy that has that different of split at home.
So
on the
Hopkins
road.
had 5 catches for 64 yards.
That's 64 more yards than Amari had in 5
Yeah,
more catches. Like,
yeah.
Amari could have sat out the game and it would have been the same exact
But
thing.
you know, that also can kind of come back to coaching, because
can.
when you have, and whether you think that, I think Kellen Moore actually is doing a pretty good job.
I don't think he's doing the worst.
But whether you think that how much Jason Garrett has his hand in what they're doing there. I don't think Kellen Moore is solely creating and calling all the plays by himself.
No, you hear Tony Romo when he's commentating the games. He has made multiple comments about this has traces of Jason Garrett all in it right now.
And way too conservative. And it also would help if okay, so Stephon Gilmore is shutting down your number 1 receiver. Can you scheme him to get open? Like the best coaches can also scheme guys to get open. You don't just have to have raw talent running a go route and jumping over and.
And my thing is this: if we get AJ Green a little bit cheaper, do you entertain it? I think you do. I think Philly ends up with Amari Cooper
Talking about
next
not
year.
being healthy, though, I mean.
But I think AJ's also sitting out, also due to the fact that, they're 1-11.
If he's ever going to be
now.
healthy, it's going to be at the beginning of next season.
Yeah, and it's also that
and then he'll break his toe in week 2. But
they're 1-11. He's not going to come back this year. I didn't think he was going to come back in the start of the season when they said he'll miss 8 games. I was like, he's not going to. They'll be.
I think he's
0-8.
still on a couple of my rosters. He's still on doubtful on a couple of my rosters.
My thing with Amari is like, and I would love to have Amari, but the problem is Amari's not going to be like, yeah, I'll take, I will take Adam Thielen money. He's not going for Adam Thielen money. He's going to go for not Julio money, but Hopkins money. He's going to go for Michael Thomas money because he wants to be in that. That's what his agency's fighting for, which I understand. The guys want to get paid.
Get your money and everything.
Because someone like
that.
Philly will pay him that. Because Philly's going to need a receiver next year. I think that, honestly, when we look at what we're going to do, we got to tag Dak until Dak proves that, we're not getting rid of you as a franchise guy. I'm more for trading him for picks and maybe looking further into it. But if you want to tag him, that makes more sense than just giving him a giant extension. I don't think Dak's the issue, but the problem is with Dallas with not getting rid of staff 2 years ago is you don't know if Dak is the issue. You don't know if it's coaching staff or Dak. So when you keep that same staff around for 4 years, now you're looking like, oh my God, okay, so like, is it the staff or is it Dak? Because that's where it comes in between.
This is the thing with the Cowboys. They can have pretty much the exact same roster next year because everyone's freaking out about are they going to be able to pay everybody. Mm-hmm. They could theoretically franchise tag Dak, which would kick the can down the road 1 year. And then they have what's called like a transition tag, where if somebody came over from a different team in a trade or whatever it was, they can tag him for a year as well. So they're not going to have to technically pay him. I mean, they might be happy about it. And you're going to wind up paying Dak, trust me. Like,
yeah, I think we will as well.
Whether you think that the stats are actually like doing anything for them to win or not, he's still putting up the stats.
He's putting up the stats, but they're very garbage timing. They're very like when you're down X amount, you're going to throw it, and I get it. But like, I just don't look at like, his numbers look good, but his winning against teams that have a high winning percentage don't look good, and that's a problem. Like, I'd rather have. Here's the thing: like, everyone wants to kill Tom Brady for his season. At the end of the day, Tom Brady is finding a way to win games late, and he is finding a way to keep the game alive. Dak is fumbling the ball left and right. In Buffalo, he looks horrendous. He looked awful against Buffalo.
Amari Cooper right now, and this is kind of crazy to see who's ahead of him, but Amari Cooper right now is 5th in receiving yards, and that's having missed some games.
But look at his home road splits, though.
Yeah,
his home road, it's completely different. And at home, he's unbelievable. That's why I say the first playoff game, if we host it, I think we could win it because Amari shows up. Then when we go on the road, he's gone.
Crazy enough to see who's ahead of him. One spot ahead of him is DJ Moore.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, DJ's getting
but yeah, Galladay's down there at like 950. But I mean, of course, we've been playing with like third-string quarterbacks. That's enough Cowboys talk. If you guys want to be done with Cowboys talk, fast forward like 30 minutes. That was way too much on Cowboys. Now we're gonna start the other topic of the week. Tom Brady's done, right?
I don't think I think the fact is, I think McDaniels needs to start getting yelled at more. I think McDaniels' play calling's been really bad.
Well, he has a job in Indianapolis if he ever wants it. Or actually, wait, he already went back on
that. Man. Yeah, that's a name that's coming up in a lot of NFL teams.
So I was kidding. I was just throwing up the topic, so I was hoping you would not go for it. It's not Brady's fault. If you're looking at the guys he's throwing to, Julian Edelman is a really good receiver. He's not.
He's good at what he does.
Yeah, but if you have Gronk going over the middle and you have Julian Edelman doing whatever he's doing, when you have the other team double teaming with bracket coverage Julian Edelman,
and he's 5'8", 5'9".
I'm sorry, he's not going to beat that coverage.
No, he never will.
And then who's their second receiver? N'Keal Harry,
Corey Harris or
no, that was a Miami quarterback.
Yeah, not Corey Harris. Jacory, what's his face?
The U is back.
Jacoby who? Jacoby Brown.
Jacoby Myers.
Myers. Yeah, guys like yeah, man, he made some great catches against Dallas. I will say that, man. He made some great catches when I was out there. All the programs going on. I mean, you look at they may jump on playing with New England, but it's like at the same time, New England's not going to pay guys money, and some guys are more about their money. It's football.
Well, right now the trade deadline's over, so they can't trade for anybody. The big topic has been, should they bring back Antonio Brown? I mean, do you think at this point Patriots fans will just, I don't know he hasn't been proven guilty of anything. We can start with that. Well, okay.
You can't say off Twitter.
He just, say
the hell off Twitter.
I had a thought today while I was at the gym where I have most of my thoughts, that in the shower. And I was like, is Antonio Brown the Black Trump? He can't stay off of Twitter. He's saying all this crazy shit on Twitter all the time. I just saw today that there was a thing where Antonio Brown might be with Sean Kingston on an album, collaborating with an album. Did you guys see that?
He wanted to start rapping, yeah.
I could be making that up or it could be true. You have no idea.
But with him, you really don't know.
That's what I'm saying. It's so random that I didn't make it up, but it's weird enough that it could be.
My thing with Antonio Brown is, man, it's like, you ruined your opportunity by just not shutting up. And you've ruined your opportunity with a lot of people.
And he apologized to Kraft because I think he sees now the only chance he has is.
But he's apologized and went back on the apology by saying something stupid like 3 times this year, including just like the other night.
And what Paul is saying too is players wanting to play with the Patriots. Well, we saw them try to get him Antonio Brown. Mm-hmm. We saw them bring in 17 tight ends this year. All of them have either gotten hurt or waived. We saw them trade a second-round pick, or was it second or third, for Mohamed Sanu. And at the time, everyone's like, oh, it's the Patriots. It's a smart move. He has not looked good at all. He looked good in one game.
Sanu's, he is what you get.
I think he's kind of banged up, but like I said, if your receivers are Mohamed Sanu and Julian Edelman, you have 2-2s.
I just thought personally, here's the thing if you're New England. You don't ever draft in the first round typically anyways.
Sanu's hurt? No, but he's still playing though, right?
Yeah.
To his point.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, if you're New England,
I wouldn't want him as my number one.
First round pick for another receiver. They rarely draft in the first round. N'Keal Harry's shown that it's going to take some time for him. He's a rookie.
But they have put a lot of, for them to be this bad, they have put a lot of resources into it to be this bad at receiver and tight end.
But last year, everyone acts like this is new. Last year, the last half of last year, the offense looked horrendous. The defense looked amazing.
What they win the Super Bowl? 13-10?
13-3, yeah. 13-3.
They could do the same. They could. Everyone's freaking out now.
I think OBJ to the Pats is something that I've said as well. I think could very well happen. I don't know if it's going to happen.
Don't even say that. But the thing about that is Brady's not really that great at throwing the deep ball. Like if you watch him now, it takes all he can to throw it like 50 yards.
Yeah, but
yards.
if you can get OBJ get the separate. I mean, if you look, OBJ's year should be a lot better than it is. Just Baker's horrendous, and Baker's accuracy is completely gone off.
But you or I could just throw it up to him. Like they're not even giving him the chances.
But the thing is, Baker's also like missing him on throws where he's wide open. This guy can extend the field very. Odell Beckham, in my opinion, even regardless of what his year's looking like right now, I still think he's a top 5 receiver. He's just with the wrong quarterback.
Right now, he's 23rd in receiving yards.
Like I'm not gonna jump on the old stat wagon there.
I'm just saying I did that because I wanted to find his targets. Because my thing is they're not even giving him he should be targeted like 10 times a game.
When he was with Eli, he was arguably the best wide receiver, and Eli was quote unquote, and he was downhill at that point in my opinion, but like you just see like when you watch, like I said, I always go back to the Jets game. When you watch the Jets and Brown,
never mind, he's got 103 targets. I was wrong.
Like it's like he's seeing the ball, it's just he's not getting the ball to, they're not getting to him.
Yeah,
it's like,
a target is different than like a catch that's a catchable catch.
Yes, like it's the man, when you watch Odell Beckham play, there's no reason why he should not be in the top 5 every year in some type of receiving category.
And everybody projected his production going forward because they're like, if he could do that with Eli, and then seeing what Baker did last year, the thing is Baker's regressed, and everyone knows the book is out on him. All he does is they show like graphics on ESPN where the pocket will be completely clean. He'll roll out to the right, cut the field in half, and then the defense has to defend half the field.
Yes.
So the thing is, when you see play action and players roll out, when the play is designed to go to half the field, it's much different than when a quarterback just rolls to the right and gives himself half the field.
Yeah.
It's like you can't throw back across your body unless you're like Patrick Mahomes. Which he's
guys
not.
like Devontae Adams, that's another one. Like when you look at top receivers, like another name we didn't mention there, top receiver, like Devontae Adams does a great job. I look at guys that
he plays with Rodgers too, which is.
But even when he's not with Rodgers, and when he was with Hundley, I mean, he wasn't stepping away too far off. He was still putting up production. He was still getting open. I mean, he was still one of those receivers that could play the game. I don't think New England's going to get him by any means, but I'm just talking about receivers out loud.
Who would they even trade for him at this point? I don't even think they have their first. They would love to trade their first-round pick for OBJ, but like, why would the Browns get rid of him?
The Browns are going to get rid of Kitchens, which they rightfully so. That guy's an idiot. Dude.
Yeah,
when
the Browns are gonna trade away their first-round pick just to trade Kitchens to somebody besides firing him.
I just feel like when you look at Freddie Kitchens and the whole shirt Pittsburgh started, and then he blames his daughter, it's like, grow up.
And I understand when people say that, and I also understand when people say, who cares, it doesn't matter if they would have won. But the thing is, it's just like, it's this, and not to get back to politics with the Trump thing and everything, but it's just like, is that something that Belichick would do? Is that how you want your head coach to act?
Sean Payton act like that? Did Mike Tomlin act like that? Did Andy Reid act like that?
Just act like a head coach. Like,
that's the thing.
Yeah, do you see Mike Tomlin coming in saying, I didn't even think of Mike Tomlin when you said, would he wear a shirt that said Mason Rudolph or whoever, or what's his name?
Myles Garrett started.
That would never happen.
That would never be a thing. Like he got pissed off when he was saying we're going to go into New England and kick their asses as a pep speech when Antonio Brown was recording it, because he does not he may say what he's saying in the locker room. That's locker room talk. He doesn't want that stuff out there.
What do you think
it
Mike
makes
Tomlin
him look whatever, and he doesn't want you're a head coach, you're the CEO of a company.
Yeah.
You're
let the players do that.
Yes.
And then say, I support my
coach thing.
Yeah, that's a defensive coordinator type thing.
Not even say a coordinator. I still think that's a DB coach. It's a running back coach.
Linebacker one of the guys, one of the linemen wore like a Free Pouncey shirt. But that's
an assistant special teams coach. Someone that you don't put on camera, but the guys love and want to talk to. And that's what Freddie Kitchens still acts like. But I understand about this time at like probably 14 months ago, he was a position coach.
Also, if you're going to do it, don't be a loser. Like, don't be the Browns and don't lose. Like, dude, if you're going to do it, win.
I hate Cleveland. I'm so happy this is happening to them, because I said when the season started, Freddie Kitchens, everyone overestimated their talent.
I bought into it. Well, no, I think the talent was fairly estimated. I think what was overestimated was how talent cannot just overcome a systemic shittiness.
Okay, but I understand, but fairly estimated. People were talking about this team will win the division and they could make a run at the Super Bowl.
But look at the players that they have. They have like 2 top 10 running backs. They have 2 top 15. What is Landry? Top 15?
No offensive line.
Okay,
a quarterback coming into a second year when quarterbacks show that you're either going to regress or you're going to do really well. It's one or the other.
Even if he stayed the same as what he was last year, they'd be leading the Steelers are leading the division. Like, this is the difference of the Steelers and the Browns.
Ravens.
The Ravens. I forgot about that. But so look what's happened with the Steelers. Still, to my point, they're on their third string quarterback, and they want to have like a better record than a team that has like all this talent on it. It's just a credit to the organization.
Tons of coaching.
Yeah, coaching and organization and just like stability, like the Steelers and the Browns of just years of losing. It's like
it's just with the Browns. Like, I don't like teams that come out and they want to see and this is people that may throw shots at me as a Cowboys fan. Be like, oh well, you're a Cowboys fan.
Duck's a good thing around these parts.
Yeah, but when you look at the Cowboys, they have seen wins of like 10, 12, 13 win seasons. But you look at Cleveland, you guys haven't seen the last time you were 10-6, you didn't make the playoffs with Derek Anderson. Like, that's the thing. Like, this team is not known for winning, and we're going to come in here and say a running backs coach is going to lead them to any type of playoff berth. Like, this isn't, it's just crazy to even think that. I think Cleveland Brown fans were just being ridiculous. Baker Mayfield, I was never a Baker fan, and I'm kind of happy to see what I'm seeing out of him, because when you watch him and Freddie Kitchens, they're both very similar with the media. They get really pissy and pushy with them.
When they're winning, it's cockiness, and when they're losing, it's all defensive.
But when you see guys like Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, it's very... They're humble. They're not deflecting back on anyone.
They're never too high or too low. It's the whole act like you've been there before thing.
It's a Hodges jersey. I love it.
Is it still Cyber Tuesday? Can we still get that like 50%? It's probably like $10 right now, right? I don't know. They did just
get
win.
His college jersey on eBay. That's what you're gonna do.
He's looking at. Oh yeah.
There we go.
He's looking it up. They were showing him at what do you go to, like Stamford or something? He was beating out somebody's record.
But when you watch that team, it's just like Mike Tomlin. And this is the theme. People kept talking in the beginning of the season if he'd leave. I thought there could be a chance he would leave, but then the defense looks like is a top 3 defense right now. Outside is probably San Francisco and New England. I'd have them at number 3. Just like they're just up there. I mean, they're 6-5 without Juju. Juju's been horrendous all year, anyways. Yeah. He's too busy with his commercials and whatever he's doing with his damn dog on Instagram. James Conner's hurt all year. Like Juju needs to step it up. Like stay off the camera, stay off the video games. Just let's get you going, please, for God's sake. Like
the Steelers are kind
angry
of
fantasy owner.
The Steelers are kind of in a weird position right now because do you want Ben back next year, but they're not going to be bad enough to draft a quarterback, which even if they were, they don't have the first round pick. So it's like you're either going to have Devlin Hodges or who is it, Rudolph?
Yeah, Rudolph.
I think he's done as far as like.
I think he's mentally out of it. He could be mentally out of the NFL.
Who's going to want him now? I mean,
I don't think it's a wanting thing.
You talk about a Kaepernick distraction. What is this guy like?
Oh, stop! That's not even close.
Okay,
it's not even close.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna, so Mason Rudolph is gonna be forever not the guy who hit the guy over the helmet. He's gonna be forever the guy who got hit over. He's always gonna be linked to that thing, and he's not good enough, I think, to overcome. Like, I don't want to even get into. We've already talked too much about Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
My main point was for them next year. I guess if Hodges has been decent or Roethlisberger comes back, but they're not going to be as bad as people thought they were going to be. So the Steelers still have a chance to make the playoffs in a wild card. They have like an outside shot. Get the leader of that division getting into Ravens 49ers. You said you rewatched that or watched the game for the first time, but you rewatched it. That was pretty much, I think, as well as a team can play. The 49ers defense played against Lamar Jackson, and I mean, you have Justin Tucker came down to being the difference.
Tucker's an unbelievable. I mean, when you have a guy like him at kicking, you know you have to get within 50 yards, 50 to 55 yards. You know you're going to get the field. But you're going to get some points.
I've thought about it for years, and there's not always teams or talent or coaches that are willing to do it or can do it. But when you go for it on fourth down around like your own 40 or or on the 50, you're adding another down. Obviously, like I'm not telling anyone they don't know, but it's hard to stop them from getting 10 yards in 4 plays. And you'll see like 49ers fans or whatever when I was watching the games are cheering, and they don't realize that they're going to go for it on fourth down and they're going to get it. And whether you stop him in the backfield and then he like cuts to the outside and like you can it's so rare when you can hear the crowd even when they're at home like everybody in basketball you see it a lot, but watching that game, I mean, I would pick them right now to win the Super Bowl. I think
when you watch, the only reason why
it's still early, obviously.
Yeah, it's still early. I think it's just really hard to still count out New England, no matter their struggles, because at the end of the day, when you see someone like Bill, and Bill's seen you, and now he knows how to scout. He scouted out Houston after the last game. He scouted out. God knows he knows how Baltimore plays through and through at this point. I really want to see that rematch. That's the one game I want to see again this year is Baltimore-New England.
I don't know who New England plays the rest of the season, but I don't even think Belichick is going to be watching film on those teams. I think for the next 4 or 5 weeks, he's only going to be watching Baltimore.
And I think he's going to be really prepared. And you know what? That's going to be a game that I think Lamar's going to realize, okay, they played him one way. Now that Bill's seen you, it's really hard to beat Bill twice. It's almost like when you say it's hard to beat the same team 3 times in a row, like in those divisional games.
Division ones,
if you see them in the playoffs, it's hard to do it 3 times. It's very hard to beat Bill twice.
But it does make a difference. And with the Patriots losing to the Texans in that game, the Ravens are going to have a first-round bye now, and which they were already going to have. But now
they could have home field.
But the Patriots are going to probably have to go there. And we were all. I know I'm falling into the same trap as last year when everyone's like, "Oh, the Patriots have to go and play the Chiefs at the Chiefs. How are they going to win?" And then of course they win. So I'm going to do the same thing this year though, and it's like, how are you going to beat that Lamar Jackson team? And then they're going to find a way, I'm sure, the Patriots to do it. They're going to win like 6-3 or something like that.
And when you watch, but my thing, like when we say this, I still think New England has I think New England can win this. I still think New England's going to win the Super Bowl.
Eli beat Bill twice.
I just think it's just like, you have to go out there and do that. And it's like, I understand where people are coming from, and I get how well Baltimore is playing. I'm not discrediting that. Lamar Jackson is playing at an unbelievable level at this point. But my big thing too is this, like, is everything going to go that way again? Like when you start seeing new schemes, because they're going to show Lamar things he's never seen in that if they do have that rematch.
Right.
There's going to be coverages, there's going to be blitz packages that he's never seen, and he's going to have to adjust to that on the fly right away.
Greg Roman is not a bad offensive coordinator.
And he'll be a head coach somewhere next year.
He'll be showing things that they haven't shown all season too. So I hope it happens. But I mean, the only reason right now, if they played at Baltimore, the only reason you would pick the Patriots is because they're the Patriots.
Yes, it's because I'm going with their head coach at that point. Yeah, I am definitely.
And I'll probably wind up taking the Ravens. What do you think the spread would be in that game?
Like no more than 4.
Yeah, I don't know, but the offense looks so bad.
It does, but again, last year their offense did not have a bright spot really last year.
But getting back to last year I forgot to talk about this earlier, when they didn't have the receivers or anything last year, but what they could do is run the ball pretty consistently. They haven't been able to run the ball consistently this year. And then
with injuries being a big issue, Michelle being in and out.
That's fair.
And Burkhead being in and out, and James White he's a receiving back. It's tough to get him. I could see I see Greg Roman going to Cleveland next year is a big possibility there. It makes a lot of sense there with the running game because I don't think they won't keep Kareem Hunt. But having a Nick Chubb, or your boy Harbaugh, if Michigan cans him, I could see him being in Cleveland next year.
Michigan will not fire Jim Harbaugh.
I don't think they will either. I don't think there's a candidate that's going to jump out of nowhere for that one.
No. But one last thing on the Ravens, too, when you were talking about Odell to the Patriots, that's not necessarily their offense. They don't need it. But who's the Ravens' best receiver? Marquise Brown?
Mark Andrews as a tight end.
Well, other than tight ends, because when you watch that game, the 49ers-Ravens game, all they were doing is running outside, inside, and then play action, pass to the tight ends over the middle.
They run the ball so effectively up there between Gus and Mark. That's what makes that team and Lamar himself.
And I think it almost helps them sometimes. It's going to seem counterintuitive for them not to have that receiver that you can throw it to. Because when you take that incompletion, that shot downfield, you give yourself another down. You're not getting the big plays or anything like that, but you're guaranteeing that you're going to get
getting crunch yards left and right. They're just consistently chunk yards of 8 yards just running the ball.
How many times did you watch the game? How many times did you see Lamar Jackson do the play action? And we're not talking about a guy who's no threat to run outside. We're talking about and the entire defense goes for it.
There's a whole blitz coming after him with their corner. And he juked 3 yards up the field.
When you see him roll out and nobody's there, you're like, how is nobody expecting him to pull it?
And that's because, like I said, the success of that run game. And this has been my only reason why I won't say because some people are coming out and saying he's the for sure MVP. I'm like, hold on, Russell Wilson's still there.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson's still having the year, and the reason why I say that is because when you talk Russell Wilson, who else are you talking with? Because Lockett hasn't been playing. Their running backs are left and right different. Metcalf is a rookie. Josh Gordon's been a non-factor. But when you look at Baltimore, and their defense in Seattle hasn't been consistent whatsoever, the defense in Baltimore looks very good. Their Earl Thomas ad has been phenomenal up and down this year. Better than I thought it was going to be. And I'm an Earl Thomas fan.
Did you know Russell Wilson never got an MVP vote before?
No.
Yeah, they said that on the Monday Night broadcast.
I did not know that, actually.
Never got one MVP. And I guess that kind of, if we went back and actually looked at it, I'm sure you'd see a lot of years where it's like, Drew Brees or any of these guys.
He also wasn't the best player on those Seattle teams either.
Yeah. So they showed another stat where it's been 8 straight winning seasons, every single season with 3,000 plus passing yards. The only 2 other guys to have that many was Brady and Peyton Manning.
I'm not kicking Lamar out the conversation. I think Russell's still heavily in that conversation. It's not as blindside as people are trying to make it be.
I think it's a tie right now, especially after you play on Monday night and you show out like Russell Wilson did.
Oh, yeah.
I think let's not mic up Russell Wilson ever again, though, because I like to let his play do the talking. There was a point, if you guys watched on the Monday night broadcast, where he threw like a 60-yard bomb. Awesome football play. But the 4 receivers start doing a dance they obviously choreographed in practice. And Russell Wilson, they show him running down, and they just look at him and just kind of walk away. So
he just doesn't seem like
you're an awesome quarterback, but you also look like a male cheerleader.
Yeah, but it's also really awkward, and every player on the team wants to get with your wife, too. I'm sure it's a little awkward as well. I mean, we're sitting here talking with them, and I would love for her to walk in right now as well.
That's fair enough.
I mean, tell me not. I mean, I would love to see her. I'd love to see her. I got a girl, but I would not, I would like to at least see her.
He's like, there's no other player who's like, I guess you could say Peyton Manning. I was going to say whose football level is here and their anti-swag is way down here.
Yeah, but the thing with Peyton Manning, his anti-swag is so anti-swag that it has a swag.
Yeah, he's kind of
Russell doesn't have
he's
that kind of
he's kind of like red forehead swag.
Yeah, it's like everyone's they want Peyton, they would invite Peyton to dance with him. But also it doesn't help that Marvin Harrison's not really dancing unless he's got a Glock in his hand.
Oh God! Do not Google Marvin Harrison murder. Don't do it.
Marvin Harrison, Philadelphia, change your life forever.
Don't Google Marvin Harrison murder. Don't Google Ray Lewis murder, and don't Google Julio Jones 4 toes.
4 toes.
I did want to get into
college football.
We still got time, right? We're fine. Yeah, college football, a couple of other things.
Roll Tide, right, boys? Ha 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 ha.
Roll damn Tide, war
I
damn
love
Eagle.
it. Finally, they're out of it, man. It's going to be a fun playoff.
You know what? Now that they're out of it, I'm kind of sad. I kind of would want them in it, which is like a
You
weird.
just want somebody to beat Ohio State, is that why?
I do.
Okay, that makes
really,
sense.
it's not going to be us, so. Yeah, I know.
Hate straight.
I know.
I will say this is going to be a fun playoff coming up now that we have a different team. LSU looks like they should be fully into it. If they lose to Georgia, though, do you think that takes them out of it?
Okay, so here we go. I have the entire thing here.
Yeah.
I have the True Detective spider map, or whatever you want to call it. So I have questions for you, and I have questions for myself and Stretch and answers. So last week, I don't think much is going to change because Ohio State, LSU, Clemson, and Georgia all won.
Yeah.
So if they all, well, obviously, so they can't all win out this week because Georgia plays LSU, right? So here's where the questions come into it. Alabama lost, they were 5. Minnesota lost, they were 8. Do you think that any team of these 4 can make it in? Baylor, Penn State, Florida, Wisconsin. That's 9 through 12.
No.
No, right?
No.
So then
Penn State better not get in, for God's sake.
I hate Florida fans, but they have a good case to get in.
But do they? They lost to LSU.
No, I'm saying if some crazy stuff happened.
And Georgia.
But this is not going to happen. So the only teams right now who are 6 and 7 who are going to move up to 5 and 6 in some order are Utah and Oklahoma. Both of them won last week.
Baylor can't get in because they lost to Oklahoma the way they did.
Right. Well, oh my God. Thank God I had the plus 10.5. Let's not even get into the betting the week that.
Oh, man, I saw the odds on the comeback, and God, just let me see. Let me see an hour into the future is all I want.
So these are my questions. Ohio State is minus 16.5 against Wisconsin, so I don't think they'll lose. If Ohio State loses, are they still in?
That's a yes, in my opinion, because they beat the hell out of Penn State, beat the hell out of Michigan, and if they, it depends on the Wisconsin loss, I would say. If it's off a stunning field goal or something crazy, then I would keep them in.
They'd only have one loss, so I
their
think
dominance all year shouldn't kill them for losing by a field goal. But if you lose by 17 points or something, yeah you know what I mean?
So I think they'd still be in. And at some point, you have to kind of reward people for being, and I'm not an Ohio State fan by any fucking means,
I couldn't tell.
But you have to almost reward people. You know how there was that year when Alabama didn't make the championship game and it wound up helping them because they didn't lose in the championship game? I don't think that's good to have that.
No, I don't think so either, but yeah.
But unless they lose by like 21 or something, then fuck them. I would say fuck them either way, but I think if they lose, they're still in. If Clemson loses to Virginia, I don't think this will happen because they're a 28.5 point favorite.
Clemson loses to Virginia, they're going to be out.
Because, like Dabo said,
the ACC is very weak.
Like Dabo said, nobody wants us in anyways. It's like, no, you haven't played anybody. Go fuck yourself.
But I mean, their talent does still stay on that team. Because when you look at them after the close North Carolina game, they blew the hell up.
I think if any of these top 4 teams
Clemson has the most opportunity to get out because if Georgia loses, they're out.
If any of the teams that have no losses, if you only lose one loss, but it's the last week of the season, I don't think it should carry more weight than if you lose in the beginning of the season. Because it used to be with the BCS, if you lost the last week, you were out no matter what.
Yes.
I don't think it should be like that.
But if you lose week 2 to West Virginia,
so because you make it to your conference championship and you lose if you're LSU, I don't think you should be out.
Yeah.
So that was my other question. If LSU loses to Georgia, LSU right now is 2. Do you think that LSU would be out?
I think LSU stays in if they lose to Georgia, only because they beat Florida.
What if they lose by like
Alabama.
21?
They beat Florida and Alabama. I don't think they're kicking them out.
So far, Ohio State and LSU in whether they win or lose.
Yeah.
Clemson, we think they're out if they lose, but they're favored by 28.5. They're not going to lose.
Georgia loses, they're out.
Well, yeah, Georgia's 4, but they're playing LSU.
Yeah, that's their second loss, and they need. This is the redeem game for the South Carolina game, in my opinion. You know what I mean? This is losing to South Carolina the way they did wasn't great. Fromm played horrible, but if they lose to LSU, they're not going to be in that playoff. So you've got to have that redeem game at some point. Florida's not enough for a redeem game.
I think we got into enough. We got a pretty good flow going with the spider chart so far. So we're down now. If Ohio State and LSU, whether they win or lose, they're in. Clemson is not going to lose. So what if Georgia beats LSU? Do you think LSU is still in?
I think it should still be in. I mean, the way they beat Florida and Alabama makes them still in.
If LSU beats Georgia, I think it's between Utah and Oklahoma, right?
Yeah. And Oklahoma's loss is not as bad. Like Utah lost.
No, so both of the losses, Utah lost to USC on the road by 7. but Oklahoma lost on the road to Kansas State by 7. To me, that's pretty much the same thing.
Yes, but I think Utah beat Oregon.
No, they play Oregon this week.
Oh, no, they do play. Yeah, I'm sorry, they play Oregon this week. If Utah beats Oregon, then they need to get in because Oklahoma plays Houston, right?
Oklahoma plays Baylor.
Baylor? Okay.
I was spiderwebbing it earlier today. I was spiderwebbing it. So Oklahoma plays Baylor, who Baylor's technically 9 right now. So I think if Oklahoma and Utah both win and LSU wins, I think Oklahoma gets in because of the name recognition, because people watch them, because voters watch them, because of Jalen Hurts. So I think Utah's only chance, and I would much rather actually see Oklahoma in than Utah.
Yeah, because you have Lincoln Riley and Jalen Hurts.
Right.
That carries weight. Like, I do believe the head coaching name and your past with your team, your head coach and your quarterback can carry some weight.
It's not fair, but it's to the point where if it's a tie as far as the teams go, it's going to be name recognition.
And here we go again with we're going to want to expand the playoffs is the next thing. That's going to be the next thing coming up.
I don't think so, because if you look outside of those teams, if you expanded it, where do you think Alabama's going to fall to this week? Because what was that? That was their 3rd loss or 2nd loss?
Alabama, that's their 2nd loss.
2nd loss. So they would fall. I mean, Baylor, I think.
Well, anytime Alabama's played a reasonable opponent for them, they've lost this year. So that, I think, immediately hurts them. Like,
second-string quarterback matters. We've seen that the committee will actually change your ranking based on whether you win or lose. It also matters about which I like much better than the BCS because I didn't take it into account. So, I mean, the rankings will be coming out in a little bit here, so I'll be interested to see it. But right now, I think if everything holds, I think if LSU wins, which the spread is only 7.5, I think that's one of their closer ones this year. And Georgia has as good of a chance as anybody to beat LSU. I thought before the season they'd be the best team in the country. But right now, you'd have, if LSU wins, I think, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and LSU Clemson.
I'm pulling for Ohio State full-time this year just because it was 12-1 odds. I put 100 on them the season start up. So.
Oh, you never told me that.
Yeah, man, and I just look at this recruiting class. I really want to see Urban in it, but Ryan Day's obviously doing what he's doing a phenomenal job. It's a great Ohio State team. I know you hate hearing this, but it's a very, very good Ohio State team. I still think, but here's the thing. I still think
a couple of bounces, we could have won the game. I'm just saying, a bounce here or there.
What bounce?
Bounce into the end zone and we recover it and then do that like 6 more times.
A bounce in recruiting. But that's.
I will say this, it is not recruiting. When Jim Harbaugh got mad that they said it was the talent.
Oh, man, that was kind of funny to me because you could tell his pants got a wrinkle.
Okay, yeah. And you don't know how many times I was watching that game. We'll get into it fine. I'm watching the game.
So is ESPN.
Yeah. No, this is about.
There we go.
Yeah, we can talk about that all day.
Michigan basketball, the savior.
That's why I wanted to get this podcast done early tonight. I want to watch that game. I'm going to have no wrinkles in my pants because they're going to be tight if you know what I'm talking about. Juwan Howard for head Michigan coach for football. How about that? But no, it is crazy about, not to transition, but Michigan basketball. We went from unranked to ranked number 4. Because I don't know if you watch college basketball or if you have this past week.
I'm a Syracuse fan, so I hate watching Boeheim.
We beat Iowa State before the tournament, which is just a middle of the road, pretty decent top 25 program.
Especially when you go to, Iowa State's a recognizable Big 12 program.
It's like one of those little conference or one of those little tournaments that doesn't necessarily matter. I mean, it's good to win. But we played Gonzaga and North Carolina on back-to-back days, number 2 and number 6, and we beat them both. So we jumped from being unranked to being number 4. I'm kind of nervous because the game's on the road tonight, and I've been doing this new thing, not like a crazy system, but for betting where I'll just look at NBA teams and I'll just take whoever's on a back-to-back and I'll look up their spread against and nobody cares. But I'm still stuck in the spider web. But the rankings will come out tonight, and I don't know if any of these teams are going to lose. Ohio State, I don't think is going to lose to Wisconsin. I don't. Do you think LSU and what do you think about LSU and Georgia?
I think it's gonna be the game to watch this week. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
That's. I really. College football has been stupid with their 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock starts.
All year it's been terrible.
It makes no sense. But that's the prime time game. I think if you're to only watch one college football game,
I don't even think it's prime time, is it? I think it's
Probably
at like
not.
4 o'clock.
If you're to watch any college football game this year, it's that game. Not this year, but this week is that game because. When you watch LSU Georgia, man, you're really going to see a Georgia team. Kirby Smart is still Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart's a very good coach.
You're going to definitely see
you're going to see an aggressive
Georgia defense against the LSU offense is going to be fun to watch.
And I think Fromm's also going to want to go out there because The whole talk was when the season started, Fromm was supposed to be like a top 10 pick supposedly. That talk is far gone now, and Burrow's now the number 1 talk. Fromm's going to come out there with an edge on it. I think Georgia can pull that off. I think I'm picking Georgia to win that game.
We talked about it a little bit in earlier podcasts about how much like NFL quarterback movement could happen. I don't think we talked enough about how much now where the freedom of movement for college quarterbacks. Imagine
the transfer portal.
Yeah, well, I mean, imagine if instead of at Oklahoma, Jalen Hurts was still at Alabama. That'd be nice to have for them right now. Ohio State used to have Joe Burrow. That's two quarterbacks that they would have had that were in. And I've already looked up, trust me, every single Ohio State player, whether they're graduating or not. And spoiler alert, Justin Fields has to come back next year.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, him and Lawrence will be in the league next year.
J.K. Dobbins, see ya. Thank God.
Dude, I know, right?
Yeah, fuck, man.
My quick thing is we haven't really touched on Rivera. I don't want to switch subjects too hard, but that is the breaking news today.
Yeah.
I mean, Ron Rivera being gone from Carolina, I think it's kind of a...
I think either of us would take him as our coach right now.
Definitely. I think it's kind of BS, though, if we can really look at it, just due to the fact that you lost your starting quarterback.
I think losing to Washington under any circumstances is a fireable offense, I guess.
But it's not like Kyle Allen was a first or second round pick. He was a 6th round guy. Like, this wasn't a guy, I understand he started hot, but we're really going to kill Rivera for this? Like, I think Rivera's going to end up in
And Haskins was a first-round pick, technically.
Yeah.
Not even technically, he just was.
He looks so bad.
Yeah.
And by the way, Haskins, I'm going to kill you for taking a selfie when you're supposed to be out there.
Oh, no, don't be that guy.
No,
who cares?
What are you talking about? Who cares?
As
Grow up. You're an NFL player. Grow up.
No, come on.
Dude,
is he really an NFL player?
Yeah, I mean, he's got the contract. He's making a hell of a lot more money I'll ever make, it looks like so far. So, I mean, I'm just saying, like, you got to be a grown-up, dog. You want to, me.
But he didn't know.
What do you mean you didn't know?
He didn't know.
How do you not know? You're like starting quarterback for a game. How do you not know something's happening?
I can't believe I'm the one defending an Ohio State player
But here's my problem with that, Marty. You're a starting NFL quarterback. How do you not know what's going on in a game, including winning? Like that's my. Here's the thing.
He's not used to it. You say act like you've been there before. He's never been there before.
He won some games at Ohio State. So
yeah, a bunch of them against Michigan too. All of them, in fact.
My biggest thing when it came to Haskins, if I was a general manager with Haskins, I'd lose my mind. But I do think Ron Rivera is going to end up with the Chargers next year. I'm big on that one. I do. With his history with the Chargers, I think that's a foregone conclusion in my opinion. I'd be shocked if Anthony Lynn's still there next year. There's already guys calling for Anthony Lynn's job as it is. And the Chargers front office is not a stable front office either. They like guys that they know, and not a stable. I see Rivera heading over there.
Coming down towards the end of the season, I want to do a show maybe in the next couple weeks.
A recap of where we were wrong.
How'd you know I was going to say that?
Because that's the only thing I may have been right about all day long.
Oh my God, yes. I'm gonna go back and
I called the Falcons to win the division, so we can hit me on that one.
None of you guys have to do it. Don't worry. I'm gonna go back and do it and find the podcast where we did like preseason predictions, and I'm gonna find. That's kind of what I tried to do today to start the podcast for the intros.
My Watson MVP talk wasn't too crazy though. I will be happy.
I don't remember who I picked, but I can't wait.
Baker.
No, I did not.
I swear to God, dude.
I mean, go back and doctor the tape. I'm gonna have like a.
Get Hillary with you, man. She'll help you with the films.
It's gonna be like a superimposed Yoda in there, a CGI that was just added in. No, I'm gonna go back one of these next couple weeks, and we'll see at the end of the season who we think is gonna be everything for that, and then I think in the same show we'll go back and say who we thought, which I think a lot of shows don't. Everyone
do that enough.
Everyone does the prediction, but I don't think we care if we're wrong. I think it would be funny almost to be like, oh, I picked like the Browns to win the division, which I'm sure I did. Or it's like I said Lamar, not me, but like when everyone makes fun of like Bill Polian for saying Lamar Jackson's a receiver. People should go back and make fun of themselves about that.
Yeah,
so,
no, without a doubt. But one thing, Carmelo should not have won Player of the Week.
I had that written down.
James Harden averaged 43 that week, dude. Just throwing that out there.
It was like,
Just throwing that out there, dude. I don't care what week it is. You average 43, you're the Player of the Week.
We should have gotten into that. The only thing I wanted to get into is the Minshew Foles thing, but it's not important. We're running
bad contracts.
We're running pretty long on time.
I think I may have picked them to win the division too. Them or Houston. I'm
Foles for MVP.
No, I did not do that one.
So we'll wind up going back and doing that. Michigan, like I said, jumped from unranked into number 4 in the country, so they're definitely in Bundesliga. Thank you guys for watching. We'll talk to you next week.
Is the other podcast?
Where another podcast
at?
We live in a single podcast country.